As Chief Compliance Officer, my role is to ensure that we have a sound, effective compliance program that governs corporate governance throughout the organization and all of our service lines. In effect, there's rules and regulations that govern everything in what we do. Healthcare being one of the highest regulated industries in our country, there are specific rules and regulations that tell providers like ATI what they have to do in order to be compliant with either a commercial payer contract, or in the case of federal payers, Medicare, Medicaid, TRICARE, there are enrollment and billing provisions that we have to adhere to. So a compliance program, in effect, establishes the rules, policies, and procedures to help drive compliance with those respective rules and regulations governing healthcare. We have a huge target on our back. Every clinic we add, every employee we add increases the risk. Payers in particular are paying more attention than they ever have before. Reimbursement is changing, reducing, making it harder for providers like ATI to really be successful in a highly competitive market. So without an effective compliance program, we run the risk of either losing preferential pricing or treatment from our payers. We may be subject to increased audit or scrutiny without an effective compliance program. And it's required in the case of federal healthcare payers, require providers such as ATI to actually have a compliance program in place. So it's a condition of participation, so we are compelled to have it. We are accredited, core accredited with the URAC organization, and it is a good housekeeping stamp of approval for quality in healthcare. We were the first freestanding physical therapy company to be awarded the core accreditation through the URAC organization. And it was a great exercise several years ago. I think this is our third round with respect to getting reaccredited. It was a great exercise to formalize our business processes. There's 40 different core standards that require organizations that get that achieve this accolade or this accreditation to ensure that their business practices follow certain quality standards, from how we hire individuals to how we process a claim to how we provide training and education. The nuts and bolts of the entire organization are subject to these 40 core standards. And it put us on par for being able to be, A, the first to get it. Secondly, payers really appreciate and acknowledge those types of accreditations. Oftentimes we are able to be excused from certain payer requirements, including credentialing. If we are URAC accredited, that means something to the payer industry. It means that you are following a certain standard that has already been vetted by a third party, and they at times will give you some type of a dispensation to their requirements because you've already taken this third party step to prove that you have a quality organization. It's very difficult, obviously given our size. We're in 25 plus states, and to your point, the laws do change state to state. Payer to payer requirements differ. We kind of divide and conquer. I spend a tremendous amount of my day-to-day time of analyzing and ensuring that we haven't missed an update or a change in a particular payer requirement or a federal or state law. We subscribe to a number of listservs, professional organizations, including the American Health Lawyers Association, the Healthcare Compliance Association, all the local Medicare MACs. We have relationships with outside consultants who also help keep us abreast of the changing environment, including lobbyists and other law firms that spend a number of resources doing that day-to-day thing, is to make sure that we are not falling through the cracks. So it does take a village, but we're doing it. I think the industry faces challenges in that a lot of times the payers don't tell you what the rules are. There's a lot of misinformation out there, or self-proclaimed expert in the industry puts his or himself out there as the industry expert on a particular topic, self-serving with regard to their product, being a consultant, and kind of uses the scare tactic of, hey, I'm an expert, therefore you should listen to me, and oftentimes these experts don't know what the heck they're talking about. I'm a self-proclaimed expert too, with a lot of education actually to back that and a lot of experience to back that. So I think the industry is riddled with wrong information. I think the industry is losing a lot of ground with respect to conforming to a higher standard or a more strict standard unnecessarily, because different payers have different requirements. And you have to have the ability to navigate to your advantage in an appropriate and ethical fashion which rules apply to which payers. For example, on delegation of tasks. Some states have very high delegation authority where you can utilize other ancillary personnel, including athletic trainers in some instances, or even non-licensed personnel. Payers often speak to that. Sometimes payers are silent to that. If the State Practice Act allows you to utilize delegation to an appropriate personnel, with the downtrend in reimbursement, you'd be remiss to not take advantage and build a sound, compliant process to navigate the State Practice Act, but also adhering to the payer rules and regulations. With the change in the PT and OT evaluation codes, moving from a single code to 3 codes, there's some movement around there trying to navigate the potential for there to be a price differential with respect to those codes. So we are constantly updating our training and education in regard to that. We did bring our training and education in-house, which I think is very exciting, not only from a cost-saving perspective, but from truly a content perspective. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of times the content out there is either outdated or inaccurate, and we were tired of modifying third-party content. So we brought the training in-house and developing our ATI Compliance University, which is a very exciting time, I think, for ATI. First and foremost, I was a licensed physical therapist. I did my undergraduate degree in physical therapy, practice outpatient sports medicine. So the same dynamics of ATI, which gives me an advantage of understanding the subject matter, understanding my clients, by and large physical therapists. Of course, compliance represents all employees, but I think that gives me a leg up. I've been there. I understand the demands of seeing 10, 15, sometimes 20 patients a day and keeping up with the documentation requirements to support your billing and coding. After practicing physical therapy, I got a little bored, true story, and had to find a terminal degree in my education to kind of meet my academic and professional goals, and ended up going to law school. So spent 3 years in law school and was compelled enough to go an additional year and went on for my Master's of Law in Regulatory Healthcare Compliance at Loyola University in Chicago, which allowed me to really kind of tie my desire to learn about regulatory compliance and physical therapy. And it really just kind of landed on my lap. I couldn't think of a better person in this position who understands the importance of providing quality care, the importance of driving revenue and best business practice, and most importantly, the importance of doing it above board.
How long have you been with ATI?
Be 9 years in January.
What keeps you coming? What brings you to work every day?
You.
Other than me.
That's a great question. Honestly, I think the people at ATI, the culture, it's a great place to be. Most of the time, I'm not gonna lie, there's times when it's challenging to get up every day. I mean, it's hard. This business has become difficult because of the regulatory environment, because of the demands of the payer. So a lot of times it is difficult, but we are doing it, and we're doing it better than anybody else in the country, and it's great to be a part of that.